Hey everyone, my name's Dan and welcome to DANALOGUE. I recently watched a movie called Skinamarink. Now I say movie in quotations for a reason, and we'll definitely talk about that later. This movie's been all over TikTok and Reddit and all kinds of social medias. It's kind of blowing up right now, and it's a very low budget independent horror film. If you're into horror, you've probably heard about it recently, and it is honestly one of the most unique movie watching experiences I've ever had, and when I saw it, I decided I had to talk about it here with everybody, so let's talk about it. Skinamarink is an extremely low-budget, independent horror film. The movie follows two children who wake up in the middle of the night to find that their father's gone missing. Shortly after, all of the doors and windows from their house disappear, followed by the lights turning off. So they're left with a CRT TV and a VHS player as their only source of light, their only source of entertainment, and it's almost the only source of audio throughout most of the movie. Now, this movie is made up of a lot of static shots, a very abstract cinema style, cinematography style. I've never seen anything like it. There's a lot of darkness, and it's shot on a grainy camcorder. It looks like a VCR or VHS camcorder to me. There's a lot of graininess, there's a lot of darkness, and it has those colors that you would see in kind of home video. You also never really see the actors. You see parts of their body, like their feet, you hear them walking around, and they do talk from time to time, although all the dialogue is added in post. From what I can tell, almost all of the audio seems to be added in post, besides what comes from the CRT TV that is in the living room with them. I think this is a really cool effect. Doing this instead of relying on actors probably saved them a lot of budget. If you can just film a kid walking around in the shadows, it's a lot easier than trying to have the child act. Now, the abstract nature of this movie is why I say it's hard to call it a movie. It feels like more of a visual media project than it feels like a feature film. Although it is 100 minutes long, it is feature length, a lot of that is taken up with these dark shots. Now, these dark shots are very grainy, so staring into this darkness, into these dark hallways and such, kind of messes with your head. You're looking into everything and seeing things that probably aren't there. And it just adds a lot of fear of not knowing what is going on and not knowing what is happening. It's very mysterious, and I think it's a really unique way to add horror to a film. Now, there are horror scenes in this. There are jump scares. There is a few classical horror elements, but to me, those were the least enjoyable parts of the movie. There's this tension that's built by the mystery of this whole situation, this whole idea of being locked in your childhood home, abandoned and alone. It's very interesting, and the more traditional horror aspects kind of break that tension in a way that I'm not sure the film really needed. So there is the plot of having the children alone, trying to figure out what's going on, where their father is, what has happened to the house, why these strange things are happening to them, but the narrative is barely pushed around at all. I'd say about 25% of this movie are those dark, mysterious, static shots. But the fact that I enjoyed this movie so much and that it was so thought-provoking while still being so abstract made it really unique and really enjoyable, and honestly, one of the coolest things I've seen in a really long time. So that's all I really want to say about the movie to anyone who hasn't seen it. If you like horror, if you like abstract filmmaking, if you like just kind of something unique and different, and you aren't afraid to be disturbed, because this movie is very disturbing. If you're not scared of the unknown, if you are a horror movie connoisseur and you like these things, then I really suggest watching this movie. It is one of the most unique experiences I've ever had. But if you haven't seen it, I need you to stop watching this video right now because I really need to talk about this movie. It was super interesting. It hasn't been released on any streaming sites, but you can find it online. I found it in like 2 clicks. So just go Google it and go watch it if it sounds interesting. Stop the video now if you don't care, or if you saw the movie already, you can keep watching because I want to talk about this. I want to crack this movie open a little bit. I have a few ideas and a few things that I picked up from this movie that I'd really like to talk about. But please, if you haven't seen it, stop watching now.
Go ahead, watch the movie. Stop watching this video. You wouldn't want to ruin anything, would you?
So that being said, there are some very basic themes to this movie. There are the themes of abandonment, obviously their father going missing and them being alone. There are also themes of neglect, which are very similar to abandonment, but them being huddled around the television and only having their cartoons to keep them company happens to a lot of kids. That's kind of a common theme, sadly, in childhood trauma. This is also kind of a reflection of childhood trauma from an adult's point of view in some ways, things that have happened to them, or just the memories of that dark basement you were scared of, being trapped in there, or that dark closet, or just your childhood Legos and the aspect of being a child that you'll never have back again. There are very basic things, and immediately after watching, that's really all I picked up. Then I had a conversation with my girlfriend. We watched it together, and she completely cracked this movie open for me and made it so much more enjoyable. So thank you so much, Maddie. You really made this movie awesome. So at the very beginning of this film, the boy Kevin is sitting at the top of the stairs. You hear a banging, like he fell down the stairs, then some crying, and then the father picks up the phone and is talking to someone and says Kevin had an accident, he hit his head, but he didn't even need stitches. And before he even finished the word stitches, it cuts off and the rest of the movie goes on. So this happens so fast. This all happens within the first 5 minutes, and it's just a couple scenes that maybe take up 45 seconds to a minute. So seeing this so early in a film that's so spaced out and so sparse for content, I kind of just forgot about it. I didn't really hook that into the rest of the story, but it is completely crucial to what this movie is about. Now, I believe it's about, don't get me wrong, I could be wrong because it is so abstract, but I think this is about Kevin being in a coma and slowly slipping into darkness. Now, this makes sense. His father's missing. He has no longer contact with that. His sister's still around, but usually sibling companions are much closer than a parent would be to a child. So that kind of explains why he would still have contact with his sister, but the contact with his sister is eventually removed when she loses the ability to speak to him. Obviously, there is locked in the darkness, no doors, no windows, the lights go out. That's what happens in a coma. Where this starts to really make sense is the most disturbing part of the movie where Kevin does hurt himself, and that's all I have to say about that. And I believe this is a reflection of surgery happening to his physical body in the real world. Maybe he was being operated on and he kind of felt that in his consciousness, and that related to this liminal space that he's in. Then towards the end of the movie, where things get the most interesting, there's a sequence of events that happen, starting with him turning upside down. The camera cuts off, comes back, and he's literally walking on the ceiling. So his whole world has literally shifted upside down, and I believe this is the beginning of the end for Kevin. Now on the screen it says 572 days, with a pile of his toys of all of his childhood possessions, and these childhood possessions begin to go further and further away from Kevin as he slips into the darkness. There is also a scene of a woman sitting facing away from him, slowly disappearing. I believe that's supposed to be his mother, and the memories and idea of his mother disappearing from him. And then we have the visuals of children without distinguishable faces or even heads in some shots. These are just kind of still photographs, but these could be Kevin himself or his sister or anyone he knew, any kind of relations he's had in his short life. And then at the very end, there is a very distinct door that also flips over. So he starts off upside down. The door rotates 180 degrees, being upright. The camera moves into the door, and then we're faced with the last scene, which is so dang disturbing that I don't even really want to think about it, but it's incredibly crucial. There is this very indistinct, undistinguishable face in this darkness, and that face asks him, "What is your name?" And then it tells him to go to sleep, which I think ultimately is the end of Kevin. He's finally slipped into death, and it is a really incredible metaphor for death and maybe what could be happening inside the mind and soul of someone who has unfortunately slipped away. Now, missing this made the movie watching experience while I was watching it not as enjoyable, a little bit more painful, but I'm so glad that I realized this afterwards, because It allows for such deep thought with this movie. I do want to watch it again to see if there's anything else to unpack, but I also don't want to watch it again because it is so disturbing. And I went through it recently just to get some screenshots to show everybody, and damn, it creeped me out all over again. So maybe in a year or two, I'll go back and watch it when I'm feeling pretty brave. But if there's anything I missed, if you saw this movie and you have other ideas, if there is more to unpack here, please leave it down in the comments. I'm eager to talk about this movie with people. It is so interesting. It's so complex. It's so weird that I'm just so fascinated with it. And I've watched it a few days ago and I still can't stop thinking about it. So I've been meaning to do movie content on this channel for a while and I've been kind of dragging my feet. It's even in my banner, in my logo, that movies will be a part of this channel, and they finally are. I'm so glad I finally got to it. And I want to thank Skinamarink for being so crazy and interesting that as soon as I watched it, I felt the need to make a video for you all. So I want to thank you so much for watching. I love making movie content and I'd really like to make more. Let me know if you like it. I really appreciate all the support on this channel. If there are any crazy movies like Skinamarink out there that you think I'd like, just leave them down in the comments. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.